Hello, magical people of the internet. I am Jen, and welcome to I Never Thought I Would, where we discuss doing things we never thought we would do and the fascinating places that they can lead us. I have such a wonderful guest today. Her name is Beth Shaw. She is the founder and CEO of Yogafit. She's an author and she's also a yoga instructor. Hi, Beth.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for coming today. I am so excited to chat with you. As I mentioned before we started rolling, I am a yogaholic. I've been practicing yoga for over 20 years. So I'm so excited to talk to somebody with your in-depth experience of yoga, one of my loves in life. So I'd love to have you share a story about doing something that you never thought you would do. And it can be yoga related or not.
I was thinking about this question a lot, and I kind of thought of three things, but I know you just want one. Um, so I think probably the one that would be closest and scariest is in my book, Healing Trauma with Yoga. I reveal a lot of personal information about my childhood. And when I was writing the book, I realized that I couldn't ask people to share their trauma and success stories without sharing my own. But it was for me kind of terrifying to put things out in print because, once things are put out there, you can't reel them back in. So I jumped, over the cliff and did it. The wonderful thing that has come from it is that literally thousands of people have reached out to me and thanked me for writing the book, expressed similar stories, and then also shared how much the book has helped them. So then, I felt a lot better realizing that when we share our stories, when we're more vulnerable, when we're not just caring about appearing as, I want to say perfect individuals, but that we really are able to connect with people on a deeper level. We find resonance with people and we're able to help them in their journey as well.
Wow. Yeah, it is definitely scary sharing past trauma with anybody. Even a lot of people have trouble sharing it with a therapist, let alone putting it in a book in print for mass consumption.
Yeah.
So I just want to acknowledge your courage for doing that because most people wouldn't ever dream of doing something like that in the first place. And like you said, you have been able to reach and help so many other people in different ways. I'm sure there are yoga techniques in the book that help free pain because we carry our trauma in our body, and we'll get into that in a minute. But just from knowing we're not alone and that we're not the only ones who went through a particular traumatic experience, or if it was, even if it wasn't the same experience or a similar experience, just knowing that other people out there in the world are struggling on any level the way we're struggling, there's some sort of kind of comfort in that community, knowing that we're not alone.
Most definitely, at Yogafit, our community is probably the most warm, welcoming, non-judgmental group that I've ever been in. And I belong to a lot of business organizations, and I belong to a lot of different women's groups. And we were at a Yogafit Warriors training a few years ago, and some woman within the first hour shared with the group that she had shot her husband and killed him with a 12-gauge shotgun. Um, and no one really batted an eye. He was, you know, an abusive person. She was a victim of domestic violence. So it always kind of surprises me in a good way how open people are, at least in our community. And I only could hope to model that myself.
I'm still processing that
I'm
comment
sorry.
because that's a lot.
Yeah.
Um,
It was probably one of the most interesting things I have heard in yoga fit training, and doing this now for 24 years. I've heard a lot of stories.
mhm. So before we get into the book, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about Yogafit, because Yogafit, you founded this company. It's your own take on yoga. It's its own discipline. So I'm sure it incorporates some of the hatha and Ashtanga principles and more popular or known yoga practices from the East, and kind of blending them with your own style. So can you explain to us what the Yogafit method is, please?
Yeah. The Yogafit method in its original form, the class format models the traditional exercise model of warm up, work, and cool down. So for the first 20 to 25 minutes of a Yogafit class, you can expect a lot of uh, repetitive movement, flowing movements, movements that anybody can do. It's just up to their own range of motion. This warms up the body, and we match breath with movement. So you get into almost a hypnotic state. And then from there, we move into the work phase where we hold poses longer. The poses then become more complicated when the body is warm and ready to receive them. And then the last part of class is deep relaxing stretches and cool down, because we all know you can't stretch a muscle when it's cold. You know, we've now been a school for 24 years, so we have over 100 different educational programs, everything from restorative to yin to yoga fit for athletes, many therapeutic programs, yoga for heart health, yoga for cancer care, yoga for diabetes. So we really run the gamut in our educational practices and the materials that we share with the world. But the essence of Yogafit always remains the same, and that is breathing, feeling, listening to your body, letting go of judgment, competition, and expectation, and being present in the moment. And that's kind of what we share a lot during the class, so that people can remember, you know, this is your practice, it's your body, listen to it, be present, and show up for yourself.
Yes, definitely. And as somebody who practices yoga regularly, a lot of times when we say letting go of judgment and competition, we assume that we're talking about other people. But within the yoga space, it's about letting go of the judgment and competition with yourself. It's like, well, last week I was able to go this far. I was able to do this pose without wobbling um, or falling out of it, so to speak. And that was like one of the biggest lessons for me when I started my own yoga practice, because I came from a competitive athletic background, and it was always about push harder, push harder, push harder. And aside from the healing aspects of yoga, I was a gymnast for over a decade, competing at a really high level. And I tell people that I became more flexible in just a few months of doing yoga than I was in my entire gymnastics career, because everything in gymnastics came out of attention and everything in yoga came out of a release. And it was such a different mindset. It was a real mind flip that I had to go through in order to kind of surrender to the yoga practice. So I absolutely love that principle. So where did Yogafit start, like physically? What city did you start in? And are you available in multiple cities now?
Well, we started in Hermosa Beach, California, which is in Los Angeles. We started with a small studio in the 90s. We were underneath a bar at the time. And we started doing international trainings kind of right out of the gate. So, you know, but within a year of starting the school, I was traveling to Sweden, to Costa Rica, to Germany, to Istanbul, Turkey, to do trainings. And we, you know, we train, we're a school. So we do our trainings in hospitals, universities, health clubs, military bases, sometimes yoga studios, but I try and stay away from them. Um, and that's, you know, and we also run 15 conferences a year across North America. I should say pre-pandemic we were doing that. We're going back to in-person conferences. We've got one coming up in early October in Virginia. But yeah, that's we licensed the name for some studios to open, but it was with a different group, and they really didn't embody the essence of Yoga Fit within the four walls. So I don't think there are many of those Yogafit studios left.
So you started Yogafit, you're in Hermosa Beach. Do you still, have you started back with the in-person classes in Hermosa, or are you guys still mainly online?
Well, we started there, but we're not there anymore.
Okay.
Pre-pandemic, we were running about 1,000 weekend trainings worldwide, again, at health clubs, universities, hospitals, military bases. And then we were also running 15 conferences a year across North America. We also have an office in Toronto, actually,
Oh,
on the Danforth. Yeah. And
okay.
we have a studio there that's quite sitting empty right now.
Okay.
You guys
Yeah,
have
I
been locked
know.
down.
That's one of the biggest things. Actually, that's the number one thing on my list that I am dying to get back to from the pandemic is in-person yoga. I've kept up with my daily practice with virtual yoga classes, but it's just not the same. It's not
It's
the
not
same
the same.
energy in the room.
Yeah.
Getting, kind of one-on-one guidance when the teacher comes and sometimes does adjustments or even just verbally tells you, to move a quarter inch this way or that way type of thing. So just to clarify, so now you basically hold retreats and do conferences all over the world.
We're not brick and mortar. I was kind of upset for a number of years. Oh, we don't have studios. And then the pandemic hit, and I said, thank God we don't have studios.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to then change what was a 22-year business model of all in person to online in about 3 weeks.
So many businesses have been disrupted, but especially like the yoga industry, because it's just, it's just not the same doing it online.
It's not, you want to feel the energy of the group, of the instructor, people around you. There's nothing that takes the place of in person for anything really. I've had the good fortune to go to a couple of conferences now. I live in Florida. I was at the biohacking conference last weekend in Orlando. I presented at a fitness conference in DC about 2 months ago. Prior to that, I did a health conference in Virginia. And it's just like, I'm headed to Dubai in November for an Arab fitness conference. And, there's so much magic in meeting people, interacting, exchanging energy, ideas. You don't get that on Zoom.
No, no, you definitely don't. And it's funny how when we're in person, there's this, like you said, like an energetic gravitation towards certain people that we can't feel that when we're online. We don't know which people we're meant to connect with when we're online, the same way we have those instincts when we're in the room with people. So you also have a Yogafit magazine. I'd like to talk about that a little bit. So how long has this magazine been around and how did it come about?
We've been doing the magazine on and off probably for about 15 years. And it came about because there's so much information, we have so much content, and we wanted to be able to share it with people and the world, without people necessarily having to come to a Yogafit training, conference, or retreat. So we're able to list all of our conference dates. We're able to put forth, cutting edge science information about healing trauma or supplements, just different safety issues when it comes to yoga, because we're all about safe yoga at Yogafit. So we're publishing about twice a year right now, and the magazine is available online at yogafit.com.
Excellent. Excellent. And now I would love to talk about your book, Healing Trauma with Yoga. So can you give us a little summary of the book and what we can expect when we read it?
The book starts out with, it just won an award, by the way. We won the Bronze Medal Award from the New Library Book Association or something like that.
That's incredible. Congratulations.
Thanks. And it was on the Amazon bestseller list for health and fitness for the first couple of weeks that it was out. The book kind of starts out with a test called the ACE test, which is the Adverse Childhood Experiences test. So everybody can take the test. It's just a simple 9-point question asking about childhood? Did you have anyone who had an addiction in your household? Anyone who was imprisoned? Were you a victim of any emotional, physical, or sexual trauma? Did your parents get a divorce? So it's a 9 question test. And from that, then you can ascertain what your potential ACE score is. The higher the score, the more likely you are to have suicidal thoughts, have job disruptions, broken relationships, obesity, a whole host of issues come from childhood trauma. And I just wish that they gave this test to everybody, myself included, at 18 years old. So we kind of know what we're dealing with and then how to start to heal ourselves. From there, the book goes into a discussion on how trauma affects the brain, how it puts us into fight or flight constantly, how it affects our prefrontal cortex functioning. And then we get into solution. So yoga, breathing exercises, meditation, Ayurveda, sound healing, food as mood. There are a lot of different chapters. The interesting thing that I love the most about the book is that 13 different people, myself included, share their stories of trauma and then the success that they've had using yoga, meditation, other mind-body tools to heal themselves and to help mitigate daily symptoms of trauma.
Wow. This is a lot to unpack. This sounds like an incredible book. And I'd like to encourage anybody out there who's experienced trauma to take a look at this. This is something that's so important. And like you said, there isn't a test out there that we're given when we're 18 to help navigate, what we're predisposed to because of our history.
Right.
And, some of it is in our body and some of it is emotional, some of it is psychological. And what's amazing about yoga is it is that mind, body, spirit trinity and connecting everything and using breath. As a performer, it's amazing how many people don't breathe properly.
And also now we're all hunched over like this over our devices all the time. So we're, we have diminished lung capacity, and that also leads to less oxygen. And, physiologically, when you're like this, then psychologically you're down, you're depressed. So, those breathing exercises, those chest openers, so important for mood and health right now, because it's all about respiratory health during these COVID days.
Yes, exactly. And actually, I love what you said about how our physicality is indicative of our mood, and it's something that we don't really connect. We don't connect that our body position can put us in a certain mood, and changing our body position can help us. Wow, this book just sounds amazing. Like it's a wealth of knowledge that every individual on the planet needs, regardless of if they're healing from trauma or not.
For a pretty thin book, there's a lot in here. My favorite chapter is the last one, chapter 12, and it's called Living Your Best Life.
Amazing. Amazing.
And in there are just like 22 simple tips that people can do every day, not all of them every day, but to pick and choose just to feel better in the moment.
Yes. And I love what you said, not all of them every day, because when we're trying to change our habits and change things in our life, I think a lot of people will read a book and get really jazzed and they want to do everything immediately. And that's how we fall off really quickly.
It's a very good point. Thank you.
There's so many things that I want to ask you about, but we have such a limited amount of time. But what I did mention earlier on is how we do hold trauma in our body, and we can have some sort of chronic pain or chronic illness that's not really a medical issue, but it's a trauma issue. Is that something that you touch on in the book?
Yeah, most definitely. There's a portion of a chapter on pain relief.
Mm-hmm.
And, a lot of times people are suffering from chronic pain. It is psychological. And, it seems contraindicative to think, oh, I'm in pain, I should move. But a few years ago, I was presenting in Tokyo, and I tried one of those inversion tables that were push button with you for the ankles, and then you flip yourself upside down. I stayed there for like 25 minutes because unfortunately, when it comes to things health and wellness, I'm like, more is more.
Mhm.
And then I tried some glute machine that I'd never tried. And I threw my back out and I had to present the next day. And I was in so much pain. And fortunately, because I know a lot of restorative yoga moves and hip openers and low back stretches, I was literally doing yoga poses like every 2 or 3 hours. And I was able to get myself to the point where I could walk and go present a class. So a lot of times people are in pain, but they really need to move their bodies. And then we start to activate the cannabinoid receptors in our brain and we start to feel better. So yeah, movement is good. It doesn't have to be intense movement, but some slow, gentle movement, definitely beneficial for pain.
Yes, I have a reoccurring shoulder issue. I have a few reoccurring issues
I bet you do.
from when I was a gymnast. And as I was saying, as I age, it's like, every few years, another injury that I had years ago, decades ago, will pop up and be like, oh, okay, that was from when I did this move
Yeah.
and, busted this or sprained that.
And
Yeah.
I know you gymnasts really put yourselves through the ringer, to say the least.
Yeah. It's amazing because when you're a child, it's just fun and your body's so resilient. You don't really take into account that this repetitive, beating up of your joints is not going to age well. Sure, some of the things are from being an athlete, but other things are just emotional. And it's funny once you can pinpoint it and recognize it, you can release that trauma. And this book is I know it's already helped so many people, and I know it's going to help so many more. So I hope everybody out there watching grabs a copy.
Thank you.
And I know you have several books, but let's talk about one more before we have to wrap this up.
Okay.
And it's called Yoga Lean. So tell
Yes.
us about that one, please.
Yoga Lean is based on Ayurveda, which is the kind of the food medicine supplement complement to yoga. There was Vedic astrology, Ayurveda, and Hatha yoga. So
Can I call it like ancient biohacking?
you sure can. Yeah. and I'm still using a lot of those hacks today. So Yoga Lean is based on Ayurveda, and there's also a test so you know what body type you are. So if you're a Kapha body type, don't expect to be size 2. And then we go into different exercises, eating programs, lifestyle choices for your different body type. And you can be dual dosha or tridosha even. Also, there's a great chapter in the book on clearing space so that when you clear your external space, you are more apt to stick to a proper eating and nutritional program. There's exercises, breathing exercises, a meditation chapter in there. There's some weight training. And there are also recipes. There are 35 recipes, and they're segmented into recipes for energy, recipes for relaxation, anti-aging recipes, and so on. And then we have corresponding yoga workouts for energy, for immunity, for relaxation, and so on. Everything's based on 7s in the book too, because my lucky number is 7. And it's a great book. It's very all-encompassing. It's not a diet book, but it is definitely a lifestyle book.
Mhm.
Kind of just sharing the yoga lifestyle and how that can help you. And really, my favorite part of the book also is the talk about lean consciousness, which is kind of like witness consciousness, which we learn in yoga, to become the witness to the body and the mind. In lean consciousness, we're taking it one step further, assuming that you are getting very much in touch with your physical body through your yoga practice. And then you intuitively know what foods to eat, what foods are going to upset your stomach, what foods you should stay away from. It's a place I've gotten to. It's a great place to be. And it's a place I'd like to see everyone in because, as you're well aware, I think right now in North America, we probably have over a 50% obesity rate, which means 1 out of 2 people is obese, which, there's no reason for that. It shouldn't be like that. It doesn't have to be like that. We open ourselves up to a lot of other health challenges when we have excess weight on our bodies. So I would love for everyone to read and implement Yoga Lean.
I have a couple of questions and comments. The first question is, because it's Ayurveda recipes, they're predominantly vegetarian, correct?
Well, actually, the recipes are not all Ayurveda, but
Okay.
the book is all vegetarian.
Okay.
And if people want to throw meat into these recipes, they can do that. The book is also 100% gluten-free because I really believe in the gluten-free lifestyle.
Okay. Yeah, the other thing I wanted to kind of talk about is the consciousness of what we put in our body. We're so hectic in our lives. We're so busy with everything. We're rushing to get food into us. We're rushing, to, ward off that hunger. We get hangry. That's like the
Yeah.
new word, right? We're like hangry.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what we eat. We just need to put something in our face. So this book sounds like it has amazing tips and advice for
It's a
people.
great book. It really
Yeah,
is.
for people to become just more mindful about that. And especially since the pandemic, we all want to be healthy.
Yeah,
We
we
all
have
want
to
to.
look, we have to be healthy right now. I always said your health is your most valuable asset always, but uh, I had COVID. For me, it was like pretty much of a non-event. Actually, I thought it was PMS for the first couple of days until I got a little fever and then lost my sense of taste and smell. But it's because I've been working out since age 15. It's because I have a meditation practice. It's because I take a ton of supplements, uh, and you have to make your health your number one priority because without it, we can't do anything.
Mhm. I wholeheartedly agree with you. And anytime people, come up with the excuse, because I love to talk about health, it's one of my hobbies. Eating right, biohacking, yoga, fitness, working out, all of that stuff. It's like at the forefront of my life. And, when people come up with excuses about, being too busy, and it's like, well, you might be too busy now, but that cuts off the longevity of how much time you're going to have in the long run. And if people can kind of reframe their perspective in that way, it would be helpful.
Yeah, I work with a lot of entrepreneurs, and I find that a lot of business owners, put their health last, and they really
Mhm.
need to be putting it first.
Yeah, because if you aren't there to run your business,
Yeah.
you know, if you have to take sick leave, or if you have to take time off, or if you don't have energy to get through the day
Yeah.
and lead your team, your business isn't going to go very
Yeah.
far.
And our bodies can either get in the way of our goals or help us achieve our goals. And it's really up to us how that's going to go down.
Well, I think that is the best line to leave our audience with. That is that is such a great perspective in life. I am so grateful that you took the time to chat with me
Thank
today.
you.
I
Thank you for
learned,
having me.
oh, my pleasure. I learned a lot. I hope everybody out there learned a lot as well. Definitely check out Yogafit if you're looking for a retreat or a yoga conference, whether you're new to yoga or you're a veteran or a teacher. I am sure all of Beth's information and practices will benefit you. Pick up Healing Trauma through yoga and Yoga Lean. I think we all need both of these books in our life.
Yeah.
So thank you so much again, Beth. Thank you all out there in the interweb for tuning in today. I'd like to
Namaste.
Namaste. I'd like to challenge you out there to do something you never thought you would do. Let us know what it is in the comments and where it leads you. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Have a beautiful namaste.
Thank you.